But let's get into the fuel economy. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and yes, we are doing our road trip impressions with the TRX. So I just got back from a 1,700 mile road trip with my new TRX, and I figured it'd be fitting that I do this video on the highway, because when you go on a road trip, most of your driving is, well, gonna be on the highway. And so we're gonna go over everything. We're gonna go over ride comfort, fuel economy, which I'm sure everyone's interested in, the fuel economy with the truck, passing power, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're literally just gonna go over everything in this video. And so yeah, with all that being said, let's just get straight into the video. So first off, let's talk about the actual ride comfort with the new TRX, and let's talk about it from every single aspect. So first off, from an interior perspective, the TRX is amazing as a road trip vehicle. The seats are really comfortable, and if you guys don't know, my TRX is fully loaded, about almost like a $95,000 MSRP. I pretty much have every single option except for the graphics package. So I've got the really nice leather seats, and I never had a point in the road trip where I was like, dang, these seats are uncomfortable. Like, I was extremely comfortable the whole time. And if you guys don't know, I came from a 2020 Ford Raptor with the Recaro seat package, and the Recaros do look cooler than the seats here in the TRX, if you ask me. However, these seats are so much more comfortable. The Recaros support you better and they hold you in place better when you go around corners. But these seats definitely feel more comfortable, especially on a road trip. They're way, way more comfortable to sit in. And then for the rest, the interior space is great. It was just me and my little sister, and like there was no problem with like storing everything. There's tons of cup holders, tons of storage space all over the truck. So from a storage space perspective on a road trip, it also does a really good job. And then the other thing with the comfort is going to be like the ride quality and all that. And the ride quality with the TRX is just absolutely phenomenal. It is definitely, I don't think this person's gonna let me in. There we go. It is definitely the most comfortable vehicle I have ever driven in for a road trip. I don't know what wizardry Ram did with the suspension on this truck, but it is so smooth. This is just like a luxury car. Like, there's no other comparison. It's really smooth. When you go over bumps, you really don't feel it. Nothing upsets the truck, and like, it's just amazing. And one thing I noticed that this does better than the Raptor on road is the Raptor kind of tracks side to side because there's kind of a little bit more play in the suspension even than in the normal mode. But this truck in the automatic mode, it pretty much stays really like planted. It's still really smooth, but it doesn't like float all over the place, and it doesn't kind of track all over the highway like the Raptor does. So it's actually easier to drive. But yeah, super smooth. The tire noise is actually pretty minimal. This has 35s from the factory. They're 325 millimeter in width, and it's really quiet from that perspective as well. So like, the ride comfort's great, the tire noise isn't loud, and then from the engine and exhaust perspective as well, it does a really good job. So yes, when you accelerate, you hear crazy exhaust and supercharger noise, which is just awesome. But when you're not accelerating, like, you guys can just listen. Exactly, you don't really hear a whole lot. So like, until you're like full throttle, you don't really notice that you're driving a Hellcat truck. And so it doesn't drone or anything, and it just makes it basically have a really nice luxury experience on the highway, so that you can just cruise really quietly and really, really smoothly. Now, the next thing I want to mention for the road trip has to pertain to the technology with the TRX. So first off, you guys can probably see I have the adaptive cruise control on, and the adaptive cruise control system on the TRX is really good. So first off, what it does is it's just like any other adaptive cruise control system. It has the follow function. Right now, I just have it set to follow this person in front of me. Super simple. But the other cool thing about this system is when you press on the brakes, just like most other systems, it'll cancel the adaptive cruise control. That's not the cool part. The cool part about this system is when you actually go to accelerate with it, you basically get a little message here in the center that says driver override, and it actually turns off the cruise control so you can do your passing, whatever you need to do, and then it'll go back into the adaptive cruise control system. We've got a bunch of traffic here. I'll try to show you guys once things kind of like thin out a little bit up here, but it's a really seamless system. And then obviously you guys see the infotainment system and the camera mirror. Now, both of those are fantastic. I love the camera mirror. I didn't realize that like I would like it as much as I do like it, because it just makes visibility so much better, especially since my truck has the rack in the back and the tire. They don't really get in the way too much, but just slightly. The camera mirror makes it perfect. I mean, like, look at that. The visibility is perfect with the camera mirror. And then as for the infotainment system, this 12-inch display, actually living with it for the first time ever, it's really nice. I love the split screen function where I can have like the music on the bottom, and then I can have like navigation on the top, for example, which is great for road trips. So then you can shuffle through the music, you can see it right there, but then you don't have to pull down the map just in case you need to quickly get directions for something. So yeah, from a tech standpoint, it's great. It has blind spot monitoring, it has collision assistance, all that kind of stuff. So like, great safety tech and lane departure assistance. But you guys probably noticed I have it turned off. I don't really like it. It's not super intrusive, but like, that's not really something that I care about particularly. So the lane departure assistance is something that I didn't really use during the road trip, but I mean, it's still a pretty good system. But yeah, the tech in the truck from a road trip perspective, it's great. As you guys can see, we're in the far right lane here, and if you guys can see ahead of me, the flow of traffic is going quite a bit faster than us. Well, let's talk about this override and also the acceleration, well, the passing power of the TRX. So again, you guys can see, you know, we're in the slower lane, and the flow of traffic is going a little bit faster. Let's say I want to pass this person. So lane change. Like, the rate at which this truck accelerates is absolutely crazy. And then it goes back in the cruise control. I just canceled it so that we can kind of slow down a little bit, because we don't need to be going that fast. But yeah, like, the rate at which this truck accelerates is just insane. It's on a whole nother level compared to the Raptor. The Raptor kind of tapers off above 60, 70-ish miles an hour. This just keeps pulling like a freight train, and like, you will never have an issue with passing power in this truck whatsoever. Like, if you need to pass someone, it's gonna happen, and all they're gonna hear is a Hellcat, because they're gonna hear the supercharger whine and then the exhaust at the back, which sounds just insane. I love the sound of it. But yeah, it'll definitely be a crazy experience for them. But yeah, passing power on this, not an issue whatsoever. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the fuel economy, and the reason I'm behind this truck is this truck is going at about 60 miles an hour, and most interstates here in the US are 60 miles an hour. Utah's a little bit different. We have a lot of interstates that are 70 to 80 miles an hour, and coming back from Texas, most of the interstate travel was at about 80 miles an hour for the speed limit, and so that's kind of what my fuel economy was based off of. I want you guys to put down in the comment section below what you think the fuel economy of the TRX is right now, and then what the fuel economy was for the trip. And before we go into fuel economy quickly, I want to mention this is the PSI I was rocking the whole road trip was 40. I'm actually going to lower it now that I'm down in Utah, down to about 38. I'm going to see how that feels, and if it still doesn't feel right, then I'm going to lower it down to probably about 35. That's what I had my Raptor sitting at, which was the most comfortable. But 40 PSI, it was 60, 70 degrees most of the time, perfectly smooth with the tires. But let's get into the fuel economy. And by the way, I don't know how that 118 mile an hour top speed, I don't know how that happened, or yeah, definitely not in today's video. But you guys can see the average fuel economy, 10.3 miles per gallon. And right now cruising at, well, now we're going a little bit below 60 miles an hour. I mean, and this is kind of a little bit of a downhill descent, but I mean, you could average, if you're 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, you'd probably be able to average about 14, 15 miles per gallon on the highway. Once you get up to the 70 to 80 mile an hour range, then yes, it's going to drop, and you're going to get about 10.3 miles per gallon, which is what they rate the TRX around town, which is pretty abysmal. But again, why would you expect to get better fuel economy than this when you're buying a 6,000 pound truck with over 700 horsepower from a 6.2 liter supercharged V8? If you expect to get better fuel economy than that, then you are literally just, you're insane. And then in terms of gas cost, so I drove about 1,700 miles, and with an average of 10.2, 10.3 miles per gallon, my total gas cost was over $400. Which again is pretty crazy. Like, depending on how many miles you put on your TRX, you might spend more money in fuel cost than you do on your monthly truck payment, which is crazy. But again, 700 horsepower, supercharged V8, 6,000 pound off-road truck with off-roading tires. You can't expect anything else. I'm just gonna leave this fuel economy chart up so that you guys can cry with me while I play the world's smallest violin for getting 10 miles per gallon in my 700 horsepower pickup truck. But overall, is the TRX a great road trip vehicle? Kind of what are the pros and the cons? There's really only one con. So it's an amazing road trip vehicle. Like I said, I feel like this is the best road trip vehicle that I have ever owned. Super smooth, super comfortable. My little sister, I didn't let her drive at all, and if you guys are wondering on that, go watch that Subaru Impreza video. Again, it's, yeah, I'll probably post it in like a community post so you guys can have easy access to it. But yeah, I didn't let her drive at all. I drove the whole time, and some of those roads, especially, I think it was Interstate 89, I think it's what it was called. It was like up and down, bumpy all over the place, and she was sleeping the whole time on that road. Like, it didn't, like, the truck just did such a good job. Again, just in automatic mode, and going, you know, most of the speed limit on most of those highways was anywhere from, I mean, on the low side, some of them were down to 65, but most of it was 80 miles an hour, and going 80 miles an hour on a bumpy road, like normally it's gonna be crazy, but like this truck's so smooth that she was just sleeping, okay? So yeah, fantastic road trip vehicle on every front except range. So I don't expect this to have good fuel economy. I just wish that Ram, you know, gave this a bigger fuel tank. I understand that it would make the truck even heavier, but like if this at least had like a 40-gallon fuel tank, you know, maybe they could make a 50-gallon fuel tank work. I don't know. But when you only have like 300 miles of range for a full tank, you have to stop all the time for gas. That's my only complaint. I'm okay with getting 10 miles per gallon. I get it. It comes with the territory. I just wish it had a bigger fuel tank so that I could have a little bit more range. And, you know, that's also going to get in the way with off-roading. Again, I'll have a full video about how good this truck is off-road and how it compares to the Raptor. I've got a bunch of friends with Raptors, so we'll be able to do like a side-by-side comparison. But I feel like it's going to be an issue with off-roading too, where this truck just has such a low range that it's just, you're not going to be able to do as much because of the range. I just wish I had a bigger fuel tank. Other than that, best road trip vehicle ever. And yeah, so far loving the TRX. And yeah, that's our video for today. If you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe. I'll see all of you guys in the next video.